the way it all ended. Matt, did you see that the Undertaker on social media actually liked a post from somebody saying, when will they ever let the Undertaker retire or something like that? And he liked it. I was like, man, who is keeping this guy going? If he's liking that, then, and if you go back on any old Undertaker interviews, he's always like, man, as soon as I can't do things, I'm out. I don't know. Is this just WWE? Are they just going to like they do with everybody else at the moment? Even Hogan. Let's just wheel them out if we have to.
I'm
let's
really
just
worried that
throw them in.
He's going to become Terry Funk.
It wasn't good. I feel like the Undertaker was furious by the end of it, but then I think Goldberg had knocked himself sparko anyway. There's a lot of big altercation by all accounts backstage between Undertaker and Vince and Goldberg and the whole riffraff with that. So about to say, Matt, that this will probably not happen again. We're not going to see a rematch of this, and that'll be the only time you see Goldberg versus Undertaker. But Goldberg apparently sticking around by all accounts. I'm not really sure if that's wise. Considering this guy, just damages himself, let alone, his opponents. I'm not sure how wise it is. The only way I would effectively use him is, like I said earlier, if it was a match against Roman or somebody younger, I kind of get that if you're going to put a guy over, but I think to have him in sort of legend matches is kind of past all that now. I think the last hurrah really was with Brock. I think that was perfect. It was a good way to go out. He lost the title at WrestleMania. He went out on his back. That's the way to do it. I kind of feel like this one, Matt, is a bit like Shawn Michaels. It's payday, 10-minute match. Okay, he got himself concussion, but he's probably pretty rich in doing so. So, that's got to be the go home. In terms of can Goldberg draw ratings? Of course he can, but they've got to be so careful with him, haven't they, Matt? And not only that, he is. I know it's shouldn't matter how old you are sometimes, but he is 52. For WWE to have to go to Goldberg to improve ratings is quite shocking, wouldn't it, Matt? At this stage of the game.
Yeah, it is. I mean, they're desperate for these old style names, aren't they? Like from the WCW and the Attitude Era, and they're supposed to be moving on now, creating new stars, but there's still that outcry for this kind of unique situation, these matches that never happened. I'm sure if they could get Austin in that ring, that would be their ultimate goal. But I'm so glad that he's been declining these offers, because the way that things have been going and the way that they've looked, these legends coming back, I feel like it would tarnish Austin too much.
Yeah, I wonder how long or how much money they'll throw at Austin, whether there's any chance he goes, I'll do it. I don't know what number that would have to be to get in there, but if anyone's going to get him to wrestle again, it's going to be this Prince, because the kind of money he chucks at people, I think he's got enough of it to that Austin might think a 10-minute match with somebody's worth, I don't know, 10 million or something. I'll do it. I think if you, but then again, it's like The Rock, isn't it? I mean, The Rock is never really going to have to need this kind of stuff anymore, and neither would he want that kind of publicity as well. It's pretty much why John Cena's stayed away from this now, because I think last time he went, he got a lot of backlash for it. And he's somebody trying to get in the movie game, and again you're networking with a lot of different industries, and he just didn't do him very well. So I think it's not something that everybody needs. But Steve Austin, I mean, he's an old school mentality. I think we thought Shawn Michaels, no, he'll never come back, but he did. So money does talk, but we'll wait and see on that one. I know who would like a payday. That's Hulk Hogan. I'm sure he'd be up for a match anywhere.
There with Ric Flair.
Yeah, both of them two, and it probably will happen as well. I can see that. So to sum up of it, of the show, again, I like the fact that there were more fans seen visually on this one on our cameras, which was good. I liked that part of it. I do feel there was some improvements, but at the same time, I kind of feel that as much as it's gone forwards, it also goes very backwards when we have the likes of Undertaker and Goldberg as the main event. But it speaks volumes, I think, as well, that, you know, I mean, let me throw this one at you, Matt. Let's just say, I don't know, I know we always harp on about the Attitude Era, and we probably sound really old doing this, but back then, Matt, if they had this Saudi Arabia gig back then, and, you know, the Prince says, right, I want you to bring your best guys, do you think that they would have called up the likes of, I don't know, Hulk Hogan, like when they've got Steve Austin and The Rock and Mankind and Triple H, would they have gone, oh, we need somebody like Hulk Hogan to come back and help us, or the Ultimate Warrior to bring out with us? Of course they wouldn't have done. They had, back then, it was all about the stars of the now, and I kind of feel like in this era, there's nobody interesting. There's nobody that anybody really wants to see. Since John Cena, I mean, you know, I know people were having a go at John Cena, and it'll be good when he's gone because everyone will get a chance. But quite frankly, I've got to be honest with you, they haven't made anybody anywhere close to John Cena's popularity. And I'm not talking about in wrestling. I'm talking about globally. I'm talking about in other industries who they know him, they would see him. And I always, you know I harp on about this as well, but I always go back to this old visual I used to see, and it was like, you know, children in third world countries, literally poverty, no money at all, but still making John Cena sort of tank tops and wearing the chain and making things up to want to look like him. And that goes to show the reach that guy had. Whereas I feel like the guys of today, there's nobody even close to that currently that would have that effect on anybody. So I do think it does show you where we are, Matt, with WWE, that there isn't anybody who's got that reach, that star quality at the moment, and that includes Roman Reigns to a degree as well. So yeah, not great stuff there. Matt, to sort of get away from this now in the WWE, I want to talk Jon Moxley now, Matt. He's been making some waves, hasn't he, since he's come out. He's done a lot of interviews, Matt, and he certainly hasn't been shy to tell everybody about his frustrations in WWE. But you know what? At the same time, when I've heard him on these interviews, he hasn't kind of sat there and just been like, you know, I hate him, or he's this, he's that. He's kind of done it in a way that's been quite constructive. And, you know, you do hear some guys come out and, you know, I hear Ryback all the time, and that just gets on my nerves because I just think this guy has a huge, you know, for some reason he's got a huge vendetta against Triple H, and, you know, he was hard done by and all the rest of it. With Dean Ambrose, I don't think he says anything along the lines he's hard done by or anything like that. I think what comes across to me about Dean Ambrose and Jon Moxley is the fact of his frustrations on expressing himself and being able to, you know, not have everything completely scripted, not have the perfect interview where nobody might just walk behind you, and, you know, that whole storyline angles and these things. That's kind of what comes across to me. It's more about the process of the whole thing. Is more difficult, but he's been very honest about it, Matt. And to be honest with you, if WWE would have given me this side of Dean Ambrose, I'd have probably liked him a lot more than what I did. I really disliked Dean Ambrose in WWE. He was a guy that I never really got behind at all. The only time I really kind of enjoyed him was in the Shield, the original Shield, because I thought he was a bit edgy, but that was about it. I didn't enjoy him as a champion. And I never really felt that, you know, he was a guy that I thought was a main event attraction. But what have you made of his comments coming out of this, Matt? And, you know, I know we've seen him turn up at AEW, but what have you made of all these statements and some of the things he's been saying about WWE?
Well, it kind of hits home with a lot of fans, doesn't it? Because a lot of people suspect that these things go on behind the scenes, but actually have someone leave WWE and then confirm them and say, you know, this is actually the way that things go down, and, you know, it's not the way that every wrestler back there wants to conduct themselves. Mm-hmm. You know, they don't have control of their own characters. Usually 99% of what you want for your character doesn't become a reality. Mm-hmm. All of that kind of stuff, you know, confirmation, and people if people weren't having a hard enough time buying into WWE's product, it makes it even more difficult now, knowing that wrestlers just sit there and, just in frustration, like they can't achieve the goals that they set out for themselves. And credit to, Dean Ambrose / Jon Moxley, that he's actually left and had this belief in himself and actually has made this a reality. And, it didn't take him long until he captured his first title outside of WWE.
Yeah, of course, he claims the United States, wasn't it? The in New Japan, which was quite a big deal, and also he wants to compete in the G1 as well. So, really good news for him in his career. There's certainly some things he wants to do. One of the things that certainly hit home with me when he was talking was the fact that he felt like he was sort of fresh, didn't have any sort of pressure on him to achieve everything now. He's been the WWE champion. Now he feels he just, wants to sort of hit the bucket list of some things like a G1 and, competing at a Wrestle Kingdom and AEW and stuff like that. And that's kind of cool because, I think, he knows he got to the top in WWE. Okay, it might not have been anything that was, amazing, but he knows he's done it. And he could have sat around on big checks in WWE, I'm sure. But, he's decided, as Matt said, to be brave and take this step out like Cody did. And I'm sure he's going to do well out of this. One of the interesting and fascinating things I thought he said about Matt was the whole Roman Reigns story, about that whole awful bloody promo that we remember very well on this podcast, that sucker in, sucker there. Oh, my God. But he raised that story and he said, Roman came back from a meeting with Vince and said, he wants me to say this. Like, there's no way he's not going to let me. And he's like, Dean and Seth are like ribbing him about it. And Roman's trying to say, is there a way of saying this cool? No, it's just not cool. But it goes to show you, Matt, there's no room to be creative. I mean, that's the problem. I mean, Roman Reigns, why would they think something like that would get him over in the first place? I do not know. But secondly, if Roman's saying to them, this is not good, I don't fancy, and he's been, it's almost forced down him to say it. It's like, is this so, managed to the most small pieces now, Matt, where there is no freedom for wrestlers anymore to cut promos off the cuff? Or, are we ever going to hear something like Jake Robertson ever again, or, something wild like Hacksaw Jim Duggan? Those days, Matt, they seem long gone now. The art of doing a backstage interview in WWE seems lost. It seems like we don't do them anymore. That's gone. And we just do these silly little promos backstage where we pretend there's no camera there. But, I used to actually enjoy an interview, no matter how wild or wacky it used to be. But if a guy could just... You knew they weren't totally scripted, because no one could script some of the stuff that Hawk and Animal used to come out with, and all those other guys that just used to shout down at you all the time. But at least with those guys, Matt, they sounded at least somewhat authentic and themselves. Now everybody sounds pretty much the same because they're so scripted. And it's, now you've got guys like Braun that go out there, miscue one line, and then can't think off the cuff because they've got to wait for the cues for a bloody earpiece. It's just ridiculous. It seems like so micromanaged now, Matt, that there's no room to be expressive. And I think in the end, if they carry on this way and AEW go completely the other way, it's going to show massively. It's going to be like watching a TV soap up against a quality film. It's going to be that different in comparison. So I think they have to be careful there, Matt. Do you think, just going into this segue a little bit here, Matt, but the art of an interview backstage, is that gone now from WWE? Because I can't remember the last time I saw an interview before a match, or, I know they do those after match ones, but the only time they ever do them is with Dolph Ziggler, where they're setting something up for the next pay-per-view. But the art of a post, pre-interview, Matt, is that gone now, do you think?
Oh yeah, I totally think that's dried up. That's gone. I mean, it feels like these days the only guy who gets to go out and control his character and write his